Chapter 4, Technical, Conceptual, and Design Considerations. What you'll learn. First, think outside yourself. You have to remember that you're not your user. We also need to understand a new normal. One of the things that if you've come at this from more of a traditional desktop background, or you think about websites on a larger screen, designing for the web is more than just 3 screen sizes. It's not just desktop, tablet, and mobile. Mobile first is increasingly mobile only. And email is opened overwhelmingly on a mobile device. So if someone clicks on a link in an email, the chances are the first time they're going to see whatever you're linking them to is going to be on their phone. And then maybe, if it's compelling enough, they might look at it on a larger screen. And next, we're going to talk a little bit about how design really starts with markup. It actually starts with the HTML itself. And we have to think through the idea that meaning and intent have to be indicated in that markup before it can be conveyed visually. So this is something that I started doing in about 1994, and I thought I was pretty clever, thinking I could save some space in the navigation bar by linking the logo back to the home page. And it turns out I wasn't the only person who thought of that, and it's a pretty standard thing. Most web designers will do that instinctually. Even content management systems like Drupal do that by default out of the box. And yet, even today, after 20 years of browsing the web, 50% of the users you test probably won't know that that logo links back to the home page. So we have to remember, we are not our users. They're not always going to be as in the know as we are. So we have to make sure we can step outside of our own normal and put ourselves in their shoes much more thoroughly. So in the beginning, with the first launch of the iPhone, there was really no notion of optimized for that small screen. The only thing that we could do is basically just squash it down so it shows on that small screen and people would pinch and zoom. The advent of responsive design meant we could put something that's actually more appropriate on that screen. So not only is it scaled properly so people can actually read what's there without pinching and zooming, but it also behaves in a way that the navigation will be a little bit more normal and a little bit more usable on that small screen. So it's really all about context and being appropriate for the kind of device upon which it's being viewed. Another little fact is that over 31 million US internet users will only go online via a mobile device in 2016. And that number is only getting bigger. So we have, just to give you a general sense of it, that's accounting for just over 50% of the actual web access in the US, and it's even higher if you look outside in other markets around the world. So we really have to stop and think it's not just mobile first, it may very well be mobile only. So when we're thinking about that and how we make sure that our meaning and intent is translated when the screen size keeps changing, we have to start thinking about proximity and scale and not fixed pixel sizes. So here we've got a print publication from Monotype that's got this really wonderful layout across this 2-page spread showing the main title of the piece. And here are a few other spreads on the inside so we can see just how this layout gets conveyed across these printed pages. Now what we want to do with these printed pages is see how we can translate that design intent and make sure it will actually work well and convey that same sense of style and importance and meaning across headings and pull quotes and paragraph breaks and all of that sort of thing, if that gets translated onto the screen. Now here's a web page made out of that same design, the same web fonts being loaded, and a lot of that same care to convey that same feeling expressed in those layouts, but now on the large screen and small. So we can see that we can do an awful lot to bring similar typography, similar visual elements, similar layout ideas that can translate across large and small screen and give the same kind of feeling that we'd have across on that printed page. But we have that meaning, the H1 and the paragraph tag, that's letting us know what those most important elements are. Then we layer on the typeface to bring that layout to life. That way, once that story gets emailed, it gets posted to Facebook, or it shows up on Medium, we know that all of those same elements will still be just as important. The title will still be in H1, the introductory paragraph will still be just that little bit more prominent, and the rest of the article will break up in the appropriate way, so it'll still be just as enjoyable wherever somebody finds it. So for our progress report, The first thing we have to check for is our biases. Make sure that we're not tripping ourselves up making assumptions about what people know and are familiar with. We want to make sure that we understand what normal is. And that's another assumption. We can't be sure that someone is going to be behaving in some particular way just because they're holding a phone. It may be the only way they can get online. And we want to connect visual and programmatic systems of hierarchy and meaning so that our semantic markup, our H1s and H2s and paragraph tags, are all connecting to how we visually represent things on the screen.